Dan Sarginson was on top of the world, winning multiple grand finals, playing at the best clubs in the world, at the pinnacle of his career.
Sarginson steps and dives, finds the line, but it's a match-winning play.
And then he suddenly quit. In this episode, we find out why. What happened with your brother, if you don't mind sharing?
My little brother, yeah. I remember holding his hand and just telling him everything I'd ever wanted to tell him.
It got very emotional, but I can't credit and take my hat off enough to Dan for the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence that he's got.
This is where we get into the complexity of human beings, man.
Yeah.
Because if everyone understood themselves 5 or 10% more, it would have such a snowball effect in such a positive direction. I do feel like there's a generational disconnect. The older generation really don't understand what social media does to these young individuals. So of course the grandma, who definitely does love their little kid, the kid goes, oh, I've got this anxiety, his kid's picking on me, and they're going, well, just get rid of that social media, we never had it. You're invalidating the kid's emotions.
This episode is not to be missed. I hope you enjoy it. You were at the top of your career, at the pinnacle, multiple grand final wins in Rugby League with Wigan Warriors, back at Salford, all of a sudden quit. Why?
Yeah, it was a journey leading up to that point. I think we'd have to get into why I started rugby to start off with at the age of 4. My dad was from New Zealand, loved the All Blacks, obsessed with rugby, wanted us all to become professional rugby players. And mum and dad splitting up. Dad was an alcoholic. Mum couldn't take it anymore. They split up, and I think there was always this desire for me to become a professional rugby player. Of like, if I ever meet my dad one day, would he accept me? Like, as kids, sometimes we internalise what's happened to us as our own fault, because we know no different with the young minds we have at a really, really young age. And my pursuit to become a professional rugby player, I think, was mostly for my dad, and these stories I was told that he wanted us to become professional rugby players. And I felt like it made my mum happy, and I always sensed a lot of sadness and grief from my mum, and never really felt like she fully expressed that. But you can always pick up on that as a little boy, and rugby seemed to make her happy, and her coming watching me and me achieving things. So then that's to set the premise. So then you fast forward 25 years or however long. I never really wanted to do it for me, and I was doing it because I was good at it, because I've been playing it from the age of 4 and was very determined. And I think I got to kind of 24, 25 years old, and I was saying to some of the lads in pre-season and coming to training, like, I'm not feeling it, lads. I don't really feel like I have the same enjoyment you guys have for this. And don't get me wrong, it was amazing, definitely in lots of areas, but I knew it wasn't for me. And then towards the back end of my career, like you mentioned at Salford, I was being pulled too strongly to other things to really turn the blind eye to it. It was a real like internal friction of like, I'm rocking up to train every day, I should be enjoying this, but I'm not. I had to make probably the bravest decision of my life and do what I wanted to do and what I felt like was going to make me happy, as opposed to my family and everyone around me. And to everyone's confusion, retired at the age of 29.
Credit to you. I think the pressures that you must have had, and internal pressures on yourself from what the expectations were, and ultimately life is very short at the end of the day, and you've got to do what's right for you. There's no point doing things for other people if it makes you unhappy. So I take my hat off to you, because from playing a game as young as 4 years old, and then playing at Wigan, then at Salford, to then all of a sudden go, fair enough.
It was hard, and no one understood me. No one understood me, and being in such a male environment, to understand me, you had to understand my feelings. So it was twofold. I wasn't great at expressing that, and twofold, when I did, it was uncomfortable for other people. As a man, when we speak about our feelings sometimes to another man, you can see that discomfort, and surrounded by 30 men, it wasn't really the environment to sit them all down and saying, listen guys, this has been my life and this is how I feel, and the passing of my little brother's weighing heavy on this decision. It was very hard for me to get through to people and feel understood. So it felt like I was making this decision really all on my own. The person who knew me the deepest and really had my backing with it was my partner. And she was like, you've been talking about it for so long, like, I've got your back with it. I'll support you in whatever you want to do moving forward. But, you know, you've been saying it for so long now, why don't you do it? And it just gave me that inspiration, to just choose me in that moment. But yeah, it was so tough. It was a really, really tough decision.
I can imagine. What was the initial reaction to everyone around you, apart from your partner?
I remember being sat in with the CEO and the head coach, and they were just like, mate, it would all come back to like performance and like, mate, but you're playing such amazing rugby and you're on great money here and we love you, you're getting towards the back end of your career, you know, if you need to sit out of a training session because it's injury based or whatever, we can do that for you. And really giving me every reason why I should stay, but still not listening to why I didn't want to be there. And that wasn't their fault. Like I do think people thought I was maybe going mad and making a real rash decision, but again, I don't think people really understood kind of probably 4 or 5 years leading up to that, where my love for professional sport just started to dwindle away, and it was harder to get up for games and, you know, playing yourself. If you're not up for it, that's kind of when you get hurt as well. Whereas when you're full of adrenaline, you know, nothing can touch you and you're fired up. But I started to lose that, and my competitive nature was my biggest strength, in my opinion. And so once that started to fade, you know, I realised, you know, I need to maybe make this decision before it's too late and I'm starting to get hurt and battered and my performance really dropped. But even
when you're up for it though, still hurts.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know there's some big boys knocking about, and you know, some of them Tongan, Samoan Island lads are just huge, strong, fast. I watch games now and I'm like, I don't know how I was out there. Even walking up to you in the car park and looking up at you like that, and you're like this, I'm like, why are you not playing?
I was trying to get a punch in the face. I thought I've got semi-decent looks. I need to keep something.
Preserve this.
Preserve what I can.
Yeah, man.
This episode of the Tom's Talks podcast is proudly sponsored by Unthin, the hair growth company that's helping people feel more confident in their own skin. From supplements to topical product, Unthin is deeply rooted in the science behind helping people with a healthy hair and scalp. You can use the code TOM20, that's TOM20, for 20% off at the checkout. Thank you to Unthin for supporting honest conversations around mental health. You mentioned, and again, I'm so sorry this happened to you from losing my own brother, but you mentioned about your little brother passing away. You know, I'm really sorry that happened to you, mate. And I think you shared on your Instagram that you played a few games after him passing. What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, equally, man. I've listened to some of your stuff and it's really heart-wrenching, man. And I know your pain. I know your pain with that. It's crazy.
Thank you, mate.
The decision to play, it was crazy, actually. I just couldn't imagine not playing, and more in terms of a little bit of letting the boys down. We were on a bit of a roll and really were.
Were you at Wigan at this point?
At Wigan, yeah.
Wigan, yeah.
Yeah. So we were on a bit of a roll, and I think it was 3 or 4 days later from when I'd flown back from Norway after saying goodbye to my little brother. You know, Wigan were amazing. Chris Redlinski, Sean Wayne, they picked me up at the airport. They even picked George Williams up on the way home, and George packed his bags and stayed with me that night, you know, because I was just going to be sat there all night on my own in isolation. And George didn't say a word to me. George didn't comfort me. He didn't pull out the old counselling skills. He was just there, and just having someone do that for me. I messaged him the other day. I was crying in the morning, so grateful for what he did for me. And I actually messaged him and said, mate, what you did for me that day, it wasn't anything you said. It wasn't, you know, you didn't try to do anything outside of the norm, but just showing up, the physical action, what you did was, you know, will live with me forever. And it really will, that feeling of that support. But yeah, I think it was like a distraction to play a few days later. It was either I'd sit at home, up north on my own, my family down south in isolation. There was obviously the opportunity to go down there, but it all just lent towards, you know, if I play, it's 80 minutes where I don't have to feel anything. I can get stuck in. I can get rid of some of this anger and sadness within the game, and that was kind of my thought process.
For the listeners, if you feel comfortable sharing it, obviously I've seen your story on Instagram, but what happened with your brother, if you don't mind sharing?
My little brother, yeah. To go back a little bit and just give a bit of context. Yeah.
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm happy to, man. I think similarly to my own struggles, no one knew he was struggling. And this is one of the biggest worries we have with this, and the invisibility, isn't it, of how we can show up. Let's speak in let's not say we, let's say me, how I showed up every day and put on an act, and no one had a clue that I was struggling. I say to these kids, whatever we do every single day, we become brilliant at, whether that be sports, whether that be whatever, academic, whatever. But also, if we become actors every day and we mask this stuff, we become bloody good at it. And that was me, that was my little brother. So none of us really saw what was going on. None of us really saw the build up to it. But probably when he got to about 17, 18, he started to take drugs quite heavily. But as I mentioned in other podcasts and stuff, like, I didn't really see that as an issue. I was doing it after games. You know, there was quite a few players doing it. It was within rugby league, it was within society, it was within the world.
It's a lot more common in rugby league than people probably think.
Yeah. And I think maybe within quite a few sports. And we can get onto that, the pressure that comes with sport, and then the inability to kind of process that or an outlet for that. So, you know, it was just this societal thing, and growing up, I used to drink quite heavily and take drugs even before the rugby stuff, like trying this stuff, you know, as a young individual in this world today. And so when I kind of seen him on these come downs, and I just kind of seen it as normal, and that's an awful thing, isn't it? Like, to see someone the next day really low and struggling a little bit and laying in bed till like 1 PM, but just like, oh yeah, he's just been out, he's had a good time. And now I realise he was probably escaping something. It felt like a good time, but it was a big contrast to how he was really feeling. That's the reality of it, isn't it? And so, yeah, that become a kind of thing. And again, similarly to me and my elder brother, where there's a lot of shame and where there's these core beliefs that we're not good enough, and we see this with young individuals now, and a massive cause of mental health is this like feeling of inadequacy. And if we don't deal with that shame, we don't learn to feel that shame and see the illusion within it, we then look to the outside world to try and seek that. So we try to become something. And I've got to stop saying I went out into the world and tried to become something. Do you think you say we because do you feel like you're speaking on behalf of you and your brothers? Maybe, yeah. The reason I correct that is because it's a conscious thing I want to be doing in terms of when I'm speaking about mental health and stuff, and this might not even be mental health, but like this self-reflection aspect. I want to make people feel more safe, and I don't want to be saying we and them thinking, well, I'm not in the same boat as you,
sure,
and get their protection. I want to just share my message, and I don't want to drag anyone else in for protection. This is how I was feeling. That's all I can speak for. And so I was out there in the world, and my rugby was my source of validation. It was my source of acceptance from the outside world. It was me trying to prove to the world I was good enough. Now that ties into my reason to retire, because I didn't want that to be my source of love, right? If we're really getting down to how humans behave, everything's for this kind of love, safety or acceptance. And my source of love from my mum, my perceived source of love from my dad, and this acceptance from the outside world was through rugby. And I didn't want to be that. I didn't want that to be my identity. I didn't want that to be where my self-worth was generated. I wanted to strip that back and teach myself that whether I achieve stuff or not, I'm good enough. And then from that place, let's go and try and create a legacy, and let's go and try and make a difference in this world. But let's not rely upon outcomes and other people's opinions to decide and determine how good I am, because that's when we get slipped into this inauthenticity of becoming something we're not to please a certain person. And me showing up in this podcast and maybe becoming someone to please you, and then going home to my mum and becoming that's exhausting. That causes a lot of struggle. That causes a lot of like lack of energy, low mood, low motivation, which then starts to feed into bad habits, which plays into the whole mental health sphere. We all need to learn we're good enough regardless, no matter what, outside of all this external noise. And that was kind of I went very much off on a tangent from my little brother.
That's okay.
But he went down the kind of DJing route.
Right.
That's what I wanted to set the premise for. He went down the DJing route and became good at it. And that's where but what came with that was the drugs, the late nights, became 2-day benders, sometimes 3-day benders. And naturally just the amount of drugs he was taking and the intensity of how he was taking them, he developed like a drug-induced psychosis. So he was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia, started to get voices in his head and stuff. And it seemed really dark, and I don't think I really knew the severity of it as it was happening. Even my mum telling me he had bipolar schizophrenia, I never really knew the severity of that until obviously that tragic day came, that phone call where we got the call in the morning saying, he'd fell or jumped from a building, no one saw what happened, but he tried to ring us all 30 minutes prior to that, around an hour, 30 minutes prior, and he'd had these episodes before, man, where he's just petrified, felt like people trying to kill him, and like talked him down from kind of near bridges and that, where he's just panicked. He's like, I just need to get away, I need to get out of how I'm feeling. Just the intensity of that fear, I can see would have drove him to do something silly if he'd have had one of them episodes without us there. So that's kind of the journey, of my little brother, and hopefully that context before it. Sorry if I'm waffling a bit, but hopefully, I really want to give context as opposed to he fell or jumped. I want to give.
No, it's you gave it very clear, and I'm sorry that happened, man.
Yeah,
it's tough, really tough.
Yeah, it was, man.
I have a lot to answer for drugs, don't I?
Yeah.
Similar with my brother. My brother he didn't die from an overdose, but he was high on ketamine when he took his own life.
Was he?
And it's similar when we talk about this escapism. Like, we go out when we're younger, we get absolutely trolleyed, and people take things recreationally, but then some people stay recreational, some people it turns into an everyday use and an addiction. And for Liam, I remember saying to Liam multiple times, why the fuck do you keep taking this drug? Again, they're all awful, but cocaine, I sort of not understood, but like the high that you would get
makes a little bit more sense.
But ketamine was like just non-responsive, zombie-like. But then he would say, when I take it, or when I take a certain amount, go into a kettle, as they used to call it, you would be in an alternative universe. Wow. At the time, I'd be like, why the fuck would you want that? But then now, knowing what I know about mental health, if you're that depressed in your own reality, and this substance gives you an escape to an alternative universe, then I get it. But the problem with that is that by him taking this, have you seen somebody high on ketamine? Yeah. So non-responsive, zombie-like, just not a very nice thing to see.
No.
So to see that daily would obviously make you resent that person. Yeah. And it was like,
is that what you saw? Is that what you see in that?
Pretty much every day, mate. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not very nice at all. I'll not go into it because this is about you, not about me. But my point is that with your brother, it sounds similar to my brother in terms of there was something there, but the drugs were was the vice to escape. But then the drugs became the problem to everything else. For me, if I could go back in time, I'd be like, well, what was the problem with the reality? That's the issue.
And is there ever any ideas of Is it something you try to explore? Or?
Well, I and again, like public speaking has brought so much to my life in so many different ways. But ultimately, it's been a therapy for me because I've uncovered so much about the journey and Liam's issues and problems. And Liam had a really bad accident. He was on his scooter coming down from school at 16, like coming down a 30-mile-an-hour road, and a car pulled out. And he was in hospital for months. He had brain damage. He was in an induced coma. It was horrendous. And the doctors said it was a miracle that he'd actually survived. So I think that the trauma that he'd had from this accident, but then combine that with when he turned 18, because it wasn't his fault, he got 50 grand in compensation. So at 18 years old, although we didn't know it at the time, struggling massively with his mental health. He's already dabbling in numerous different drugs, but the main one being ketamine.
Yeah.
And then, imagine being 18 and getting 50 grand.
Mate.
Madness.
Yeah.
And then that was what I think then fueled everything moving. And then from 18 to 22, when he passed away, it was a daily occurrence, apart from he went to Australia for 9 to 10 months to try and get away from everything.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing about that, when we talk about environment, he said multiple times that I've took ecstasy, occasionally I took cocaine, although he said it was really expensive in Australia. He said I couldn't get hold of ketamine. So for 9 to 10 months, he never touched it.
Wow.
And he said he was absolutely fine. The day that he got back was the day before my birthday. He took it as soon as he got back.
Whoa.
And then
like in his head of like, there must have been a part of him, I can't wait to get back to meet my old friend who...
Yeah.
Because I know with my older brother's alcoholism, it's like he's been an alcoholic for 13 years. And I don't like using that term because there's some negative connotations that come with that. My older brother is the most beautiful soul beneath a lot of defense mechanisms and anger, like we all have if we don't deal with our emotions, because the anger's like protects us. And so I know with my brother's alcohol, it's like, it's his friend in a way, it's his vice. It's like, he says to me, it's the only thing that, before I was able to be a bit more vulnerable and connect to him, it was like he was saying, it's the only thing that understands me. And it's the only thing that can take this away from me without judging me. And I know that sounds a bit cryptic and a bit weird, but it's like, of course he's not judged by it. He has it, it makes him feel a bit warm and fuzzy and takes away this discomfort. I completely get why he drinks. Now, the old version of me was one who said, would nag him and say, listen, man, come on, like it's breaking our hearts. You need to give it up, bro. And I'd push him and I'd say, and I'd ring him. I'd go, mate, have you drunk today? And I'm pushing him for an answer. And I really felt like I was doing the right thing. And in some ways, of course, there's no malicious intent. There's no malicious intent. But now with a little bit more psychological awareness and a lot more self-awareness with that, I understand me pushing him to stop was like saying, take away the one thing, feel all this stuff immediately. If we translate, it's like, feel this stuff, take your alcohol away and feel it all at once. And for him, he's like, you must not understand me to make me want to feel this all at once. You must not know what I'm carrying and have been carrying to make me want to give up the one thing that takes it away from me. So although now I don't push it and say, here's a beer, I don't encourage it, but there's zero judgment, there's zero talk around the alcohol. It's just, listen, man, how are you feeling? I tried to deal with some of how he's feeling underneath it. Yeah. And then eventually one day, if he wants to slowly pull it back, he's comfortable with feeling this stuff. Yeah. That's all I can do. I can't save my brother. Yeah. And it's crazy, man, because I've lost a little brother and I didn't have an opportunity to try and save him because I didn't see it coming. But now I've got this opportunity in my life where I feel like I'm grieving and losing my older brother. But now I have the knowledge and the understanding of what can help. And he still doesn't want it. So it's like, I'm forced into this surrender of like...
It's out of your control though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Which is the worst thing.
Yeah. And that's what I have to accept. And it's a beautiful insight for me of like, I cannot save anyone. You cannot save anyone. We can leave people with our public speaking feeling inspired to save themselves, but we can't save anyone. And that's one of the hardest pills to swallow in life.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things.
This podcast is fueled by Prep. Prep is a nutrition-first meal prep company that allows me to have high-quality meals without spending hours in the kitchen. As a business owner that prioritizes their health and fitness, prep allows me to hit my goals for the day without sacrificing loads of time. My personal favorite is the Cajun salmon, but if that's not for you, then there is plenty of other options as well, including vegetarian and halal. And the best part, you get 10% off your order when you use the code TOM10 at the checkout. That's TOM10 at prepuk.com. I think you just put that so beautifully in a way that I wish more people could understand. And I think something that I've just recently come to light myself, and again, I always uncover new things, is I think my biggest regret about my brother is that at the time when he was an addict and he was addicted to ketamine, I was only 19 myself, so this is just a little bit over 10 years ago now. Even then, like, mental health wasn't really spoke about.
No.
And at that point, I didn't really know what mental ill health was. I didn't really understand what depression was.
No.
And I just thought it was addicted to this drug. I just thought it was selfish. I thought it was, you know, like, you've got a choice. But the thing was that he was so depressed. That's why he took it. Similar to your brother, in the sense that, like, take away this one vice and he's got to feel all these feelings.
Yeah.
And like with my brother, it would be like, if I could do anything, I would go back and just put my arm around him and say, which is what you're doing now, is just say, look, mate, I'm here. I love you. You're my brother. You're my best friend.
Yeah.
I'm here. That's all you have to do.
I know.
And like, what could anything have gone differently? I don't know, but at least that's what you're doing now.
Of course.
And I wish more people could see that when it comes to people that they love, either struggling with addiction or just generally struggling with life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful realization, man. It's and I think it's part of the grief journey, isn't it? Because inevitably, because we can relate on this, you do go through a very intense stage which can last for a long time of feeling guilty and feeling like we could have done more. But we really have to reflect and understand we can only operate at our level of awareness. And at the age of 19, mate, I didn't have a clue who I was at 19. Everything was just survival. It was just, how do I show up? For me, it was just, how do I show up every day? How do I prove to the world I'm good enough? How do I not expose certain insecurities about myself? How do I make myself more popular and liked by women? It was all these kind of like teenage kind of day-to-day things. It wasn't ever, how's my little brother feeling? Like, how are my family really doing? We had quite a surface level interaction. The word vulnerability wouldn't have ever come into it. Like, there would never be that at 19 to be like, how can I be a little bit more vulnerable with my brother? How can I let him know about my anxiety? How can I let him know about uncomfortable emotions I'm feeling? And what will that bring up within him, or what will that inspire him to then speak about? There was none of that. Like, and I don't expect myself to have understood that. But with where mental health's at its moment, and you're in schools, boots on the ground, very similar, we're seeing the statistics don't capture it. I sometimes look for statistics and it's as if they don't want to show how bad it is. But we know, mate, and suicides, depression, anxiety, we all know someone in and around us with addiction, all these sort of things. It's on the rise and it's becoming a serious problem. A lot of these young individuals are feeling it so early. They have to have this, they have to be given this general understanding, just a little bit, but just on how to self-reflect and see where they're at, and slowly, incrementally learning how to feel. Like, if I could implement any curriculum into school, and it can't be all at once because it's too overwhelming for the nervous system. This slow incremental program of gradually teaching kids it's okay to feel, and part of that is creating psychologically safe environments where they can speak about this and we understand why it feels difficult and why we sometimes feel like we want to laugh or shut someone down for speaking about how they feel, and how they're all just protection mechanisms around feeling uncomfortable about someone else doing something we find hard to do. And it's not all on the kids. It's on, sometimes it's on parents and how they're invalidating the kids and their upbringings. And there needs to just this. If everyone understood themselves 5 or 10% more, it would have such a snowball effect in such a positive direction in the world.
I 100% agree with that. And again, from being somebody that's in schools daily, it's frightening It's frightening, the issue that we've got. And one of the beautiful things about my work is like this week I've been really, really busy in a very positive way. I was speaking in Manchester at a school on Monday. Tuesday was sort of like workshop Mansfield.
Cool.
And then Thursday, Friday was in Newark, which again is not far from Mansfield, all at different schools, and speaking to a variation of different age groups. So some year 9, some year 10, some as young as year 8, some sixth form, some year 11. And every day when I got back, I've had numerous messages off students, like just being very kind, but also like how much of an impact the talk had. And I think it's amazing in a way that they feel so comfortable that they can open up to me, and that's the reason why I do it. But secondly, like, it's just frightening that they're in this world and they don't have a clue how to navigate it. Hence why the work we're doing is so important. But generally, and one of the things for me that is the common problem is the fucking phone. Like,
absolutely.
Like I said this in a workshop yesterday. I was like, just stick your hand up if you snooze your alarm 3 times before you wake up, or 3 times plus. Some were like 5, 6. Everybody put their hand up, and I said, well, keep your hand up if you're going on social media as soon as you wake up. Everybody keeps their hand up. And then keep your hand up if you're on there for at least 20 minutes. Everyone keeps their hand up. Keep your hand up if you're then running late for school, you're stressed, you're anxious, you're scrambling to get yourself together. And then by the time you walk through the front gate of school, you haven't got a clue what's happening, you're anxious, and you are not prepared for the day, and you feel rubbish. Every single person near enough has their hand up. And then I say, right, let's think about the root cause of the problem. It's the phone. Why is it that you cannot wake up as soon as your alarm wakes off? Because I slept rubbish, sir. Well, why did you sleep rubbish? Because I was on my phone the night before. And like, one habit that I will stick to is when I go to bed, I will leave my phone on charge downstairs. Go up to bed without my phone, write in my journal. In the morning, because I wake up near enough the same time, and I've done for years, I'm up between 5:30 and 6. I'm not waking up with an alarm. So firstly, I'm not like,
that state of fear.
Like, shit, what's happening?
Wow, nice.
I'm up. And some days I'm a little bit more tired than others. Some days I wake up easier than others. And then I go downstairs, I check my phone just to make sure that nothing is urgent, which 99.9% of the time it isn't. And then, you know, I'm having a glass of water with some electrolytes, I'm writing in my journal, I'm going to the gym. Cool. And for me, more often than not, most days, I'm absolutely flying.
So that's a great routine.
And I was saying to the students, I was like, can you see the difference between the 2 routines and how much of an impact it would have? And they were like, but how do I do that with my phone? I'm like, well, habits, you need to make it not obvious and not easy.
No, definitely.
And how do we do that? Just put your phone in a different fucking room.
Wow, Like, actually get it away from you, away from any temptation. I think I'm always interested, and I'd be interested in your opinion on it, because a lot of it is just familiarity, so that they're doing the same thing every day, so it's a habit. But I do think there's an aspect to bring it right round, is their phone is similar to the ketamine, similar to the drugs, at a less intensity and in a more acceptable way. That if we're feeling something very intense or discomfort, I think there's an idea within life that definitely, let's say me again, what I had within life was that if I was feeling that way, I was broken, something was wrong. You know, there was something wrong with me because I wasn't feeling happy. I was surrounded by this, like, be positive. And I'm all for positivity, but don't override our initial emotion with positivity. Learn to feel that, understand what the emotion is trying to show us, and then positively reframe the situation. Beautiful. But I was always, you know, I'm not feeling so good, mum, and, you know, just be positive, think happy things. Go play with your brother, go be happy. And every time I'm feeling this emotion,
it's the last thing you want to be told.
And I'm being told to feel something else, and it pushed me further into, like, this story of, okay, this feeling doesn't matter. And as a man, society already tells me that I shouldn't express sadness. I'm going to my mum, the person who loves me the most on this planet, and I'm expressing emotion. She's going, don't feel that, go feel something else. Of course I'm going to get to an age where every time I'm upset, I'm going to go look to try and make myself happy, or I'm going to distract myself. And if I've got something in my pocket and it's half a metre away, and it's, you know, it's so easy just to pull it out every time I'm feeling overwhelmed, anxious, upset, fearful, whatever, of course I'm going to get lost in that. And then that, I feel like, generates the habit of the discomfort. Phone comes out, then the habit of the repetition. So, but
I have a question for you.
that I might not have the answer to.
I'll ask it. So when what would you say to somebody, or if you could have that conversation with your mum, and if you was to say you're feeling a certain way, and somebody's saying to you, don't feel that, just be happy, what should somebody say in that situation?
I think this is where self-worth boundaries come into place, but equally I do want to address that young individuals who, so the thing with boundaries is, I can express to you as a friend, listen man, let's say I've been trying to express this frustration with you for a long time, it's starting to build to anger, here's what's happening, here's how I'm feeling, I'd appreciate it if, in the future, could you, if you love me and respect me as a friend, can you act in this way? That's a boundary, that's a very gentle boundary. If it keeps happening, I have to reinforce that and go, mate, I've spoke to you about this. And then eventually, if you really just keep stepping over my boundary and causing me to feel a certain way and I don't like that, then I have the opportunity to walk away from our friendship. Now, the problem with kids and parents is they live there. I'm not telling kids to run away from home. And that's the very extreme side of things. But I don't think it has to get to that. But that's where I think the educational piece on, parents need to understand how they're unconsciously, not maliciously, unconsciously invalidating their kids' emotions sometimes. My mum, when I went to my mum with sadness, my mum just simply didn't want to see her little boy sad. So I honour what she did. She was saying, go think happy things, come on, it makes me feel so uncomfortable seeing you upset, don't feel that. So part of the journey is learning to feel for ourselves, and then we can hold the emotion of our child. So there's a little bit of pressure on the parents as well, and that's why I'm saying the self-reflection, the self-discovery from the parent and the child simultaneously is a recipe, man. Because if I'm teaching parents what a psychologically safe environment is, and I'm highlighting a few blind spots of like, listen, I know you're not doing it maliciously, it's unconscious, it's what you learned from your grandparents, what they learned from theirs, and we know that old school lot don't talk about much, yeah? So if when you were sad as a child, you wasn't tended to, and you had to get on with it on your own, every single day, for 20 years, that's your conditioning. That will unconsciously be passed down to your child if you don't become conscious of what you are doing. Now that's where the educational, the public speaking or storytelling aspects can introduce a new concept to people. And this is massive in terms of mental health. I might have strayed away from your question.
No,
is it all linked, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is where I see a massive part of it is we are unconsciously invalidating each other's emotions. And I'll give you one beautiful example just to really solidify it all. And I'll give it from my perspective, because, there's no point me talking about all stuff as a concept if I can't be vulnerable and accept this is a part of me as well. So we're out. My partner laughs because I tell her that I tell this in talks. She's like, they must all think I'm weak and I'm overreacting. I'm like, no, you're fine, however you are. She's pushing the pram, it starts to rain, we've got a 2-year-old little boy, and she starts to feel overwhelmed, she starts to feel a bit anxious. It's when
Is this your partner?
Yeah. So it's more when she was a kind of new mum, all the emotions and hormones of being a new mum, the panic of like, oh my God, it's wet, what do we do? And just the natural overwhelm. Overwhelm, stress, anxiety, few emotions arising. Every part of me in that situation wants to go, Kate, come on, what's the matter with you? It's a bit of rain. The rain's not bothering me, therefore it shouldn't be bothering you. I have to take myself out and go, okay, I'm fine, I'm regulated, I'm not feeling any intense emotion. What you're feeling in your chest, that anxiety, that stress, I can't comprehend. That doesn't mean you don't have, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be feeling it. But my unconscious conditioning is I'm not feeling it, so you shouldn't. We need to be resilient, we need to be tough. And little do I know that if I turn to her and say, listen, yeah, I can't comprehend, Kate, but you look stressed, come here, give me a hug, and I help her to regulate that emotion, that over time, them emotions don't show up because she starts to build the idea she's safe. Every time it rains, she's like, okay, I'm safe, I've felt this before, the intensity's less, and then she becomes resilient because she's out in the rain dancing with a pram, and she can endure it because them emotions aren't overwhelming her.
It's a beautiful example.
Yeah. So
it's taught me a lot.
Yes. And every part of me still now this is where we get into the complexity of human beings, man,
Yeah.
because we mentioned before there's a shame aspect. Shame, the emotion of I don't feel good enough. Now that's stored in the subconscious. Certain things we've experienced will generate that shame. We carry a lot of shame as men, generationally, genetically, all that as well, okay? So we carry a lot as men, we don't even know we're carrying. Then if my partner explains, let's say frustration, which is a different emotion, she explains frustration to me, that will sometimes trigger a shame response of like, I've made you frustrated, therefore I am bad. On some level, that's not what I'm thinking, that's what my subconscious is telling me. And that shame might produce anger, defensiveness, and be like, oh, come on, you're overreacting, what's the matter with you? And I don't allow her to feel seen. And we start to become more disconnected. She starts to speak about her feelings less because I'm shutting them down unconsciously.
And it goes like,
And then you see marriages break up, you see partners break up. They probably truly love each other, they just don't understand what protection mechanisms are showing up that's stopping them from fully seeing each other. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's. I'm smiling because I'm thinking of examples between me and my wife.
Of course, man.
And I'll give you an example. So
Yeah,
we're having a little girl that's due
mate.
the beginning of June.
First one?
Yeah. Cheers, bro. Thank you, man. So excited. But,
yes, man.
but we went for a 16-week scan because we're both very impatient and we wanted to know the gender.
Yeah.
So we went to 16-week scan.
Okay.
Told us we're having a little boy. So I'm speaking to my wife's belly, hear me?
Yeah.
We want to call him Freddie.
Yeah.
Hi, Freddie, like, Daddy, like, love you, all this stuff. And anyway, we'll go for a 20-week scan with NHS. Get to the end of it, and they're like, we're not confident you're having a boy.
Oh, wow, really?
I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, nothing here is indicating you're having a boy.
No way.
And showing us all these different things and why it wouldn't be, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're 98% sure you're not having a boy, you're having a girl. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm fine, like, to me, as long as the baby's healthy, I couldn't care less. Like, obviously, a dad, I would have loved a little boy, but equally, I would have loved a little girl.
Of course.
So we leave, and they're saying I would recommend that you go and speak to the private scan that you had at 16 weeks, let them know what the situation is.
Yeah.
So then we got back, she spoke to the lady we had a private scan with, and this lady is like, look, from what I can see, from the 16-week scan, it looks like you're having a little boy. But she's like, look, I can understand like the confusion and the frustration.
Yeah.
Come in, literally down the road, come in and we'll see what's what.
Yeah.
So anyway, the long story short, she's like, yeah, it looks like you're having a girl.
Okay.
All right, we're having a girl.
It's a lot to, well, all the expectation of what's going to happen. It's a big change, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But then I'm like, right, we're having a girl.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
She's like, 2 days later, I want to go for another scan. I'm not confident.
Wow.
And I'm like, in my head initially, I'm like, for fuck's sake, like, let's just leave it.
Okay.
But then I'm like, no, I'm sure you'll agree with me. I cannot comprehend what she is going through.
Yeah.
Carrying a little human being inside of her.
Yeah.
And the emotions and the hormones and the everything. And I just replied saying, if that's what you want, yeah, let's go do it.
Cool.
And she's like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I think she was probably expecting to say, no.
Come on. If it's healthy, it's fine.
But I'm really glad that you said that about not unconsciously like pushing my emotions and my expectations onto her.
Yes.
To then make her feel a certain way.
Course,
just accepting how she feels for how she feels.
Yeah.
And then just moving forward together as a partnership.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, I was
cool.
like, that's that. I love how you've explained that.
Cool.
Because I like to think that that's what I did the other day. She did come back and say, you think I'm being ridiculous? I went, I think we're having a girl, so I do think it is a bit stupid.
But let's put your mind at ease.
But let's put your mind at ease. Like, it's not about me, it's about you and the baby.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, that's what you want. Let's go do it.
Yeah. I think, and it's amazing because now I'm reflecting in terms of, I think if we entertain an emotion that's arising with someone else that we think is silly, or because it's not arising within our experience, that so your partner's got a bit of doubt, maybe an emotion of doubt and a little bit of uncertainty and stuff like that. But I think if we're to entertain that doubt, that will remain there, and that we'll have to then, we're opening the floodgates for that to always be there and be an inconvenience. But I think it's like paradoxically, once we visit that, once we allow her to feel that, the intensity of it decreases because she's regulated that emotion. She's like, okay, last time I felt this doubt, felt this overwhelm, we went and checked it, okay, and it becomes a little bit less intense. And I think similarly, like with my anxiety, I ran from it for like 20 years. It tortured me. It was a massive cause of my depression, in all honesty. And it was only once I turned and faced it and just started to feel it, did it start to dissipate. And I start to see emotions as, I like to visualize them as like little kids, and they're screaming at you and they want to be heard and they want you to understand what they're trying to show you. And the more we resist them, we get the phone out and we distract, or the alcohol, the drugs, the ketamine on the higher end of the scale, we're ignoring them. So what does a little kid do if you ignore them? They shout louder, right? And it's only when we listen to the shouting gets so bad, maybe rock bottom, or the what we're using to cope to escape that, and we learn to turn and face it. Now, this is the hard part, because we can't turn and face that on our own, because we've suppressed it for so many years. The accumulation of it is too overwhelming. So that's where we need support. And that's where this societal illusion that it's weak to ask for help does my head in, because it's the only way through it, especially if we've suppressed things for a long period of time. So there's a few things, we've mentioned maybe 4 or 5 things in here that we have to change societally to really start to change this trajectory of what's going on.
This is why I started the podcast. And similar to the work that you are now doing, is we're trying to break hundreds of years of bad habits. It's
thousands, mate.
Well, thousands.
I'm with hundreds probably. Yeah,
well, a long time.
Yes,
a long time. We're trying to break down these these stereotypical ideas and ideologies and habits and thought processes.
Yeah.
And but just chip away, aren't we? Chipping away.
Do you know, I think with that, I was thinking this on the way in, so maybe I was thinking it for a reason, but I do feel like there's a generational disconnect where, ultimately as human beings, we want to feel seen, we want to feel heard, we want to be understood. That's you with your partner with a scan, that's me with my brother and his alcoholism. We all want to feel seen, heard, understood on a deep level, right? If our grandparents can't comprehend our reality because they won't allow it in because they've lived a different one, they absolutely have. The physical struggles of war, losing people, how they've just had to disconnect and become normalised to losing people, and this uncertainty of life, uncomprehendable, right? But as much as our generation need to understand them and how it's conditioned us, they need to soften and understand our reality in terms of a psychological, because technology is growing exponentially. No one can keep up. No. Our bodies can't keep up. Like everything that's being introduced, we're like, whoa, something else going on now, like in our everyday lives. So the older generation really don't understand what social media does to these young individuals. So of course the grandma who definitely does love their little kid, the kid goes, I've got this anxiety, this kid's picking on me, and they're going, well, just get rid of that social media, we never had it. You're invalidating the kid's emotions. The kid doesn't feel like, walk away from the conversation going, Grandma really understands this anxiety, I feel safe to go to her now, and when I feel really angry and when I feel really guilty for how I've behaved, I can go to my grandma. They shut it down, not maliciously, unconsciously, and it's just this kind of generational disconnect. And as you're saying, hundreds of years of trauma, like, mate, let's talk about men. Let's just talk about men who went to war, who had to leave their families. Like you having your little girl, your little boy, sorry.
Little girl.
Little girl, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, confused now.
It's confusing.
But imagine just being stripped away from them like that for years.
Yeah.
Mate, we'll never comprehend that. But the more we can learn to hold each other through this and allow each other to feel seen and really soften and support each other through this, like we can hear their stories and grieve with them, they can hear ours and support us through this, and it's this connection that we're lacking in today's world. Straight back to the social media and the internet, pitched as this technological advancement that will connect us to the world. Hasn't connected me to anyone apart from disconnecting me from the people right next to me. Yeah. Now at rugby training, I was sat there at rugby training times, we're in the changing rooms and we're all just like this, man, 30 blokes all like this. I'm like, surely we have something to talk about.
I think this is why this is so beautiful, because we haven't got his phones.
Yeah.
And this is why I love doing this so much. Because we probably, and I hope, will be friends for this forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we've shared probably an hour and a half where we've spoke so deeply and built a connection. And it's the same with every guest, or most guests that I bring on.
Yeah.
We end up speaking on WhatsApp quite frequently, and voice noting, because
Class.
But how often do other men or other people do this without having a phone and genuinely just sitting for an hour and a half without any distractions and speaking so deeply and genuinely about a specific topic?
In it, man. Next to none.
Even if you go for a coffee with your boys, like at some point during that coffee, or if you go for food or whatever, you're going to pick your phone up.
Yeah.
And then, like, for example, if I'd have done it, like my phone's there, out the way, but we've been speaking so beautifully about something so meaningful. If at some point I would have picked my phone up and gone like that, first of all, I think it's really rude when people do that. But second of all, I would have then taken my attention away from you to my phone, back to you, and then lost focus on what you were actually saying, which then would have taken away from the conversation.
Absolutely.
And the beautifulness of what we were speaking about.
Yeah. I think there would be a part of me as well, unconsciously, that would just, let's put vulnerability on a scale of like, I'm in here willing to give you everything, right? Because you've invited me on, I've seen the work you do, I've already got the respect for you, where I'm like, I'd message you, I said, I'll go wherever you want to go. Yeah. And I think as soon as people do these little micro actions they don't see as disrespectful, there would be part of me that goes, you're not really giving me the respect I deserve, or you're not listening to me. Yeah. And so, I'll just water it down a little bit. I'll play it safe, because if you're not listening to me, why would I pour my heart out? Why would I put some of these real, these topics on the line that take a lot of courage to speak about as a man? My little brother, my older brother, you with your brother, like even the story with your partner, I love that. Like, it's just, vulnerability is just that little, I get to see past the skin into who you are. I get a little glimpse beyond the curtain, and it's more men need that. More men need to know what's behind your curtain is probably behind mine. I don't know why I'm using that analogy. But do you know what I mean? Like what we hide every day, we feel the same things, different intensities, in different ways. Different circumstances help them to arise within us. But on the whole, we feel some of the same. We feel a lot of the same things.
Absolutely. I think you said it's the listening, and I think unfortunately that's why we generally don't speak about our emotions, because the person opposite isn't listening, and it's not that they're not doing it maliciously. No. They're doing it unconsciously.
Of course.
And it's like, for example, Barnsley, very friendly people.
Yeah.
We walk down the street, we see a stranger. Hi mate, you okay? Yeah, not bad. How are you? Yeah, not bad. How are you? And you would never, ever have somebody turn around to you and say, I'm really struggling. I'm depressed. I'm suicidal. And I think the reason for that is because the majority of the time, the person that's feeling that certain way is absolutely frightened to death that the person opposite isn't going to have the right words to say. But as you've just very rightly said, it isn't about always having the right words to say, like George Williams did when you lost your brother. It's just about having the ability to listen. But have the ability to listen without listening to respond.
Yes.
Just listen to listen.
Definitely.
With empathy, with non-judgmental. And just let that person opposite then just get to the root cause of the problem that they're going through. Let them get that weight off the chest.
Definitely.
They're sitting so heavy.
100%.
A problem shared is a problem halved.
Yes. Mate, I'm so with you. I align completely on that. And again, if we're really to summarise it, and this is something I'm quite passionate about, because I've given some quite big concepts today that I feel like would really make an impact. So hopefully listeners can take that away. I think this idea that and I get it. I don't need to fix you. You don't need to fix me. And like we were saying earlier, I'll fix myself. I put this on my Instagram there. I will fix myself once I feel safe enough to explore things with you. Your job is just to make me feel safe. Now you can do that through sharing your vulnerability, which accelerates the process. Because I'm like, if you're willing to go there, wow, this must be a safe environment. I'll go there. And as soon as someone tries to fix me or give me advice and they don't know the whole context, it kind of triggers in me. I'm like, I don't need you to fix me. I'm the only one capable of fixing myself. And so that can cause me to distance a bit. And all I want is someone to sit there, look me in the eyes and just try and feel what I'm feeling. Just go there with me for 5 minutes. And the respect I'll gain off the back of that and the connection I'll have with you on the back of that. You know, if every time we met there was just 5 minutes, I mean, we have to, if we met for a coffee outside of this now, we wouldn't speak about this. This is just such an important topic for us. If we met more regularly, it'd be like a little bit of day-to-day life. There'd be a little aspect of vulnerability in there. But over time, it just builds the idea of like, in the right environments, as a man, I can go there and I can speak about it. You know, I can share how I'm feeling. It's safe. I'm not a burden. And that's what a lot of men need within their life.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you've said that, because people, a lot of the questions that I get after I finish my talks, the most common question that I get is, I think I've got a friend that's struggling, or how do I approach somebody that's struggling? And for me, you've just so rightly said it, it's about approaching that friend that you think that's struggling, or maybe that family member, and match their energy. Because if I thought that you were struggling with depression, or you were struggling with your mental health, and I came in all guns blazing, like full of energy, like, man, how you doing? You're gonna be like, whoa. Yeah. Like you're not gonna let your guard down. You're not gonna be vulnerable. Whereas if you come in and match that energy and like a little bit more subdued and oh man, I'm not really feeling it today. This is me speaking to the person that's struggling. I'm not really feeling it today. I feel like I'm struggling a bit today. I'm just feeling a bit vulnerable. That person's gonna be like, oh, it's not just me.
Definitely.
That then for me, if I was able to share something vulnerable with them, that then creates that safe place and encourages them to then also feel vulnerable. Yeah. And then you would like to think, or I'm pretty confident that person would then feel confident to open up about the way they're feeling.
Definitely. Definitely. Because it really is just about safety. And these kids can't grip that. They're like, well, physically I'm safe. No one's like, my mum's not going to beat me up. I'm like, no, psychological safety. Are you afraid that if you speak about an emotion, someone will shut it down and you will feel rejection and it will feel painful? Now that perceived idea of that pain is why you don't go there. But as soon as it's safe, you're like, I know I'm not going to be rejected. I know I'm not going to be judged. I know I'm not going to be laughed at. I know I'm not going to be fixed. These are all things we need, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's funny because when you're saying about the questions after, I immediately went to like, you know, some of the kids. You speak about, I like pour my heart out for 50 minutes. Someone goes, what car do you drive? I'm like, oi, none of that, mate. We're talking about mental health. I'm like, doesn't matter what I drive. The whole point of this was saying we don't need material things. Are you listening? But yeah, some of the questions you get. But yeah, it's...
you know what I say to that? Sorry to interrupt. Because
it comes up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
or how much money do you earn?
Like, how much would you watch? And I'm like, enough. And they're like, what car do you drive? Sometimes you go, I got a bus.
Yeah. Mate, it's, and you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. You can get upset about it and go, my whole talk was a waste of time, but that's what this is on their mind.
You remember when you were in year 10?
Oh, mate, yeah.
But that's for me, that's why I will be the version of me that I am, because if I had me when I was in year 11, life would have been a lot easier to navigate. Yeah. And that's one of my core values. My core value is today I'm going to show up as the person that Tom from 10 years ago needed. That's my core value. Be that person every day. Because at 20 years old, my brother had just died. And if I had me today at 20 years old to put my arm around him, my life would have been a lot easier. I would have been able to navigate life. 100%. And I wouldn't have made as many mistakes as I did. But again, that's life. We learn from them, don't we?
The time after that, what was it like? I know we're revisiting that.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Did you feel like you slightly went off the rails?
Oh, God, mate, yeah.
Did you?
No. Like, the mistake I made was, the first mistake I made was, I think this is where that first initial sort of drive and ambition came from, because I was working towards or trying to escape the feelings that I had, and I was trying to work so hard to avoid the feeling of what the pain actually was. And I'm very aware that that's probably where some of my drive comes from today, from a negative place, but equally it's still got me to where I am, so it's not always a bad thing.
No.
But the mistake I made was I really just didn't grieve. I just started working for my dad. So the business, this building is my dad's business that he started. He's retired now. And I just started working for him, and, you know, I really wanted to make him proud, and I just threw myself into work. I just made myself as busy as I possibly could. I forgot about everything. I obviously looked at my mum and the devastation that it caused her and my whole family. And ultimately, I just didn't think about it.
No.
Like, obviously, I had my days and whatnot, but and then I was going out every weekend. I was getting smashed. I was just really trying to escape what had happened. But as you very well know, if you're trying to escape it, then you're not ever going to deal with it, and at some point it's going to bite you in the ass.
Of course.
And that's what it did. 2 years later, it completely hit me like a ton of bricks.
Wow.
And that's when I was in my darkest place.
Yeah, wow, man. So you obviously was working to kind of didn't want to feel that. Was mum and dad doing the same? What was your family? I'm always interested about the family dynamic, and it's not a reflection of where your family. That it's not to say like no one spoke about it. Doesn't mean, you know. Doesn't
absolutely.
mean we're bad people. People don't know the intensity of what that feels like.
100%.
So
yeah, I think they did the opposite. My mum and my dad.
Oh, okay.
My mum, I was off work for 6 months.
Right.
I hope she won't mind me saying this. She put quite a lot of weight on, as a lot of people in that situation would. She was probably very depressed herself. She was struggling massively, and I think again, like most mothers would. She had 6 months off work. It gets me.
Mums, man. When we see our mums carrying pain.
Yeah, she was. It was awful. I think for me that was the hardest thing about losing my brother was seeing how hurt my mum was. That was the hardest thing, definitely. And I think that's why I was trying to avoid the pain. Yeah. Because I felt like I had to be there for her.
Yes.
So that was hard. That was really, really hard. Wow. But my dad sort of did the opposite.
Right.
My dad I knew obviously, like men mostly just kind of suppress everything. But my mum's relationship with my brother was a lot different to my dad's relationship. My brother was, me and my brother lived with my dad. Okay. Not because we didn't love my mum. My mum was a mum. This was kind of the reason why. My mum was a mum. She was like, "Where are you? What time are you coming home?" My dad was there, very chilled, and we just kind of did whatever we wanted. And he was always on holiday. So, but when my dad was at home, my brother was on ketamine. My dad was kind of the person that would see it. And my dad, we didn't have a great relationship towards the end. And I think my dad had a lot of frustration built up against my brother. Yeah, of course. So he dealt with it very differently. Yeah. Which everybody's going to deal with it in their own way.
Of course. No, of course, man. So, I don't know anyone I've spoke to in this sort of situation that's turned and faced it straight away. If it's their first major grief as well. Yeah. If maybe dad had lost someone very significant or had actually avoided it before and then understood the grieving process and the necessity of it. Maybe it's a little bit different, but I think, especially in our family, we were all blindsided by it. But I can relate so much.
You didn't see it coming?
No.
You said Norway was?
He was in Norway, yeah.
Was he living there? Or?
He was living there. He met a Norwegian girl, yeah.
Right.
And wanted to just start a bit of a new life away from his friends who were good friends, but the connection was a lot through drugs and stuff. That was his main. So he kind of wanted to pull himself away from it. And yeah, he loved the life out there. And to revisit it, he got close with this guy at work, and he always said to his partner, "I'm not sure about him. I'm not sure if he really likes me," but and he invited him out one night, and my little brother's partner, she was away at a wedding abroad, so he was in a country on his own and feeling a lot probably. And he got a text from this guy at work saying, "Mate, do you want to come out tonight?" And I think he went against his values a little bit of like, I don't really like this guy, but he was kind of desperate for friends and stuff and wanted to go out, and obviously had this past of drugs, so he was like, maybe a night out will sort me out. And his dinner was left on the table, and we obviously read the messages of, yeah, I'll come. And he left his dinner made uneaten on the table and went out and had this big night out. And it was like 4 a.m. that, these boys come out and found him, 3-story building, just found him on the floor. And yeah, man. So yeah, it's it's mad, isn't it? What we do to try and, this is what I say to people. When I was depressed, I went to the NRL and I went out there to play, and I was on 3 times the most amount of money I've been on. I was living with my 2 best mates who were travelling around Asia. I was like, come live with me, boys, class boys from secondary school. Playing for Gold Coast Titans, 50 metres from the beach. Lowest I'd ever been. Like, sometimes the desperation to do everything but feel it. So like, moving country, fresh start, and we see all this, and it's the positivity. It's like, move to a new country, fresh start. It's like, get to do all them positive things, but slowly, incrementally try and feel what you're actually running from as well.
Did you go play at Gold Coast after your brother had passed?
No, I actually, oh man, this is part of it as well, I suppose. So I was out in Gold Coast, and this is where he was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenia. So my family came out for a holiday, and I looked after him. I was in a financial position to look after him and spent a bit of time with my brother. And this is when he was on his medication for bipolar schizophrenia. So he was like a zombie every day. He just wasn't my brother. He just looked through you, and he was just like, no energy in him, no life in him. So sad to see. So I messaged a few people because he was doing some gardening work and loved being outdoors and with nature and stuff, and it was really helping him. Messaged a couple of guys in Gold Coast. I was on a 2-year contract. About 6 months into it, I messaged someone saying, if you can get my little brother some work, I wanted to save him again. Yeah. I was like, come out here, man. We'll try and get you off the meds, bring this life back into you, but just spend some time with me. I've never really been able to connect to you. Childhood, we were there, but we weren't connected. I left for rugby at 16. I wanted to get to know my brother.
Yeah.
So I invited him out there. I got him this job, and he was so excited. And got to the end of that year, and I had injuries and really not played too well because of my mental health. That I got released. They didn't want me. So I had to tell my brother, like, listen, man, I've set all this up. And that was part of my grieving process of like, if I'd have just stayed and played Queensland Cup, a little bit less money, dissolve my ego of like, right, I'm not playing NRL, but it's fine. And I had to deal with all that guilt that came with that. And there's a lot of illusion within guilt. Yeah. It wasn't my responsibility. It wasn't on me. But it was moving back to the UK. He went to Norway, and then that happened. So there was. I'll tell you this as well. One of my main parts of my work now is around connection, and not to say I'm deeply connected with everyone. It's a journey I'm still on, and not just forcing connection, but really trying to understand what lies in the way of connection. Whether it's trauma, whether it's past experience, whether it's some of these invalidation of our emotions, lack of boundaries, all these sort of things, our own self-worth, whatever it is. And I remember we went out to Norway, and my little brother was being kept alive on a life support machine, right? So they kept his heart beating, but he was brain dead. And so he wasn't there. And I remember holding his hand and just telling him everything I'd ever wanted to tell him. That as a man, it's hard to be vulnerable, isn't it? And I told him how sweet he was, what a beautiful person he was. How much everyone loved him, beyond what he thought. He thought no one liked him, and he was difficult and a burden. And when he passed, man, it was the complete opposite. The amount of people that loved him to bits, and he just couldn't see it. And it was holding his hand and telling him all this stuff that I'd always wanted to tell him, how beautiful I thought he was as an individual. And he probably knew the opposite, me just like teasing him. And I remember looking down, and it's the first time I'd seen a tattoo that he had. And he had this lion on his hand. He'd sent me a few photos on WhatsApp, and me, judgmental brother, I'm just like, what the fuck are you getting that on your hand for, you fucking idiot? And I talk about this in my talks. I was holding hands, and I felt connected to him. I was closing my eyes. I was saying everything I wanted to say to him. I looked down and just seen this lion. And something just made sense to me in terms of the connection of 2 hands together, the courage that the lion represents. I was like, wow, this connection. It sounds a bit like I'm trying to force this meaning, but in this moment, I was like, I had this epiphany of like, fuck, this connection lies behind courage. And that's what we have to step into. We have to build the right environment, psychologically safe environment. We have to educate around that. But then as human beings, but especially as men, you know, we have to take the leap of faith into courage. And we're rewarded with this deep connection. And
beautiful, man.
yeah, deep connection is...
Thank you for sharing that.
It's the antidote to everything we're going in and trying to undo within schools, man. Connection can solve all of this.
But you don't think, how beautiful is it that we've never met before and two men are sat here crying?
Yeah. It's class, isn't it?
I thought we've never met before, but you felt so comfortable and vulnerable that you could share that with me.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this goes back to why this is so important, and the work that you're now doing is so important. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for I still feel emotional now. I feel like I just want to cry.
We'll have a big hug off.
Yeah,
let's have a big hug.
Nah, thank you, man.
No worries, man.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you and how vulnerable you've just been there. And I know, like, people watching this, like, because people that have seen your career, rugby league men are hard and tough, and you know, people will, and a lot of the boys that used to play with, like George Williams, obviously I don't know him, but being a Warrington fan, I come across him quite a bit. Like, you know, I'm sure you will watch this, and a lot of other lads in that environment, and see you do what you've just done. And I guarantee there'll be a lot of them that will think, fucking hell, like if Dan can go on a podcast and be vulnerable and open up and talk about such delicate topics, then I can do it as well.
Of course.
And not just people in rugby league, but just anybody in general.
Definitely, man. You see it in, when I go to some of these kind of new age churches. I mean, I just go to the cafes attached to them. I don't go there for any of that reason. But you do see the word branded around that hope. And I think, you know, your talk, my talk, us today on this, that's what I think it gives people, man. I just think it gives people hope.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just there's not a book saying something's possible. They're watching video footage of a man walking the walk. Like, we're not going up in their slideshows and we're just talking about things as words. Like, we've felt it and expressed it today, and we're visually showing people there is a way. Not that you have to, there's not a way that you can go on podcasts and just cry and it doesn't have to be about that.
Yeah.
That's just the sphere we're in. But that is a necessary part of being a man. Finding a space where we can let some of this off, man.
Just got some, like, quick fire questions to finish off with, if that's okay.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So I found one of the quotes on your social media before we started, and it was, I was never honest with myself. If you're never honest with yourself, you're never going to get anywhere. How can people be more honest with themselves?
It starts, I think, with building support, building a support network, whether that's one person, understanding what support really looks like, some of the stuff we spoke about today. But then I think you can start to be honest with yourself, because you know if you're then to express that to someone else, it's safe, it's not going to be judged. We sometimes lie to ourselves because we're like, if I face the truth, then I can't escape it. Once I've accepted it, I can't really turn back. It's like we open the door. And if that's too overwhelming, that's what scares people. So if we can face that truth, it becomes overwhelming, but then we have support, we can start, and then we have a positive impact of that, because there'll be many ways in which we lie to ourselves, yeah? And the ego steps in as a protection mechanism, but once we have that one positive impact of like, wow, I faced the truth, I expressed it, I wasn't judged, I moved through that, I'm living now further into my truth, then we can start to challenge other parts of how we're living, and it becomes a bit of a snowball effect.
I love that answer. Throughout your career in rugby to the moment you left, how did your definition of success change?
Good question. Well, put it this way, when I was 17, 18, if I got dropped and someone got put in the squad, I hated that person. Whether they were a good person or not. It was just a little bit in me of like jealousy, envy, and, you know, it was just kind of do or die. It was at all costs, need to be successful, and it was my source of self-worth. So it really was. It feels like everything in that moment. 32, I did a lot of work, I understood my self-worth lied outside of the sport. So I realised I didn't need to be successful to keep my self-worth at the level it was. That was completely separate. What that did is it freed me up to express myself. Earlier on within my career, it was driven by fear of failure, which is a fear, which means you play in a rigid state of like, don't mess up, don't drop the ball. Oh my God, that pass might be intercepted. And so we were in this like anxious state, and you just white knuckling to get to where you need to get to. That was my definition of success. And then towards the back end, it was like I could fully express myself. I could be free. A mistake didn't affect my identity. It didn't affect my self-worth. A fan thinking I'd had a bad game didn't ruin my week, because I knew my self-worth lied outside of the rugby. What that does is it gives you the freedom. And I think once we feel that freedom in whatever we do, we're successful.
I love that.
And it becomes sustainable, you know. The fear of failure, it's got a shelf life, because fear will grind you down until we face the fear, start to express, and that's success, man.
It's interesting you talk about the fear of failure, and I love how you've just explained that. And I asked this question in the workshops that I do in schools, and I said, are you afraid of failing, or are you afraid of the judgment from failing, or the perceived judgment of failing? Most people say, I'm just afraid of the judgment of failing.
Yeah.
And then I say to them, all right, do me a favour. So what would you say to your best friend, or your brother, or your sister, or even your mum or your dad, if they were in the pursuit of a goal and they failed? What would you say to them? I'd say, they would say, oh, it's okay, just do it again, learn from your mistakes, and try. Like, well, why would you not say the same thing to yourself?
Yeah.
That internal dialogue that you have with yourself, if you would speak to others like that, then that's exactly how you should speak to yourself. And it's better to have the courage and try to have never tried at all.
Love that. That's such a good message for them, isn't it? And a real...
You see their eyes pick up.
Yeah, they're like,
shit.
Oh God, that's how I treat myself. Yeah. So, I mean, that's success because we was in the kind of rugby sphere, but I suppose a life success for me is just, I think once we build towards that true connection that lies outside of, you know, where you don't need the nights out, you don't need the alcohol, you don't need the drugs, you don't need anything. We can do all them things on top and enjoy that connection. But for me, at one point, that was how I connected with others. There's a vulnerability part that gets you the truest, most pure form of it. And I think once you build and feel comfortable with them deep connections within your life, I think that's a successful life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely love this. Like, there's nothing I enjoy doing more. Like this week, like as many hours as I've been going for, like up at the crack of dawn and up like till late at night, non-stop, and then up at Saturday at 6:30, 6 o'clock, getting in here on a, you know,
Wow.
I love it. There's nothing outside of that I would want to do. Like, so why would I ruin that by these other external factors? Because it's just going to take away from what I love doing. I would never want to do anything different. But where like, you're obviously so like emotionally intelligent and very self-aware with everything that you've discussed. You're talking about, you know, decisions being made unconsciously and not maliciously, and very, very much connected with yourself. And you're 32 now. How, like, where did this version of Dan come from, and where did it start? Like, have you been on courses around this? Is it up from your own education, like self-development? Because you don't just wake up one day and have the intelligence and the emotional, maturity and the self-awareness that you have, and the conversation that we've had. Like, where did it stem from, and like, how long ago did it sort of start?
It comes back down to, and I don't know why this is coming to you, but I'll just say it, but it comes to, I've always been big on the truth. And I'll explain it, because I don't usually go into my family dynamic, but for example, going to my grandma's every weekend as a child and watching my grandma try to interact with my mum, and watching my mum give one-word answers and never look at my mum in the eyes. Now, I had two opportunities in that circumstance. I could accept it like everyone else and just say that's the norm, or I could say, I see no truth in this. There's there's something someone's avoiding here. This isn't right. We're not here to experience this in this life. Let's unpack it. And then I'd ask big questions, and all the answers would always come through myself. So I'd start to, many years ago, I resented my mum. And so I thought, well, if I resent my mum and I can't look her in the eye when she talks to me, and I give her one-word answers, why do I feel that way? What's happened to me and my mum? What's happened? And then I go back and look at, well, every time I tried to speak out emotions, she invalidated it. And then I go deeper and I go, did she mean that? I don't just stop there. I'm like, there's more truth to this. Everything I've learned, and people can't understand it, everything I've learned is through myself. Now, with support, I don't struggle with mental health now, but I still do an IFS therapy. It's called internal family systems. And what that does is it allows me to understand all these different parts that arise within different situations that show up to try and protect me. Because as a human, we have to understand our survival instincts is just survival. Okay, so if there's no physical threat, the system's still developed to look for threat. So we look for psychological threat. So the parts that show up to try and keep us psychologically safe, then that takes me down a rabbit hole of like exploring when I'm angry, what's my anger trying to do? I don't just settle of like, I'm just an angry person. There's no truth in that for me. I wasn't born an angry person. So I sit down, I journal, I ask questions, I research. I'm like, what is anger there to do? And then once I understand my anger, then a kid who I'm mentoring comes to me with their anger, and instead of me going, you can't speak to him like that, mate, I'm like, I get why your anger's there, mate. I understand it. Like, bring your emotions to me, because I understand why they're showing up. Let's explore them together. And the trust that builds, mate.
Yeah.
They're used to teachers just going, you can't do that. Why are you misbehaving in that class? And I'm like, whoa, strip it back, slow down. That's where I want to go. That's my unconscious conditioning to go there. But let's slow it down and let's be curious. And this is another model for people like.
It's so fascinating how you explain it.
How I just get passionate and this just pours out.
But it makes so much sense.
Yeah, does it? Okay, good.
No, it does. Like, it makes so much sense. Like,
Good.
Like, you're talking about kids being angry, like boys especially being angry at school, but it's like parenting, for example. Like, if you think about, like, from being born until you're probably 25, you're not properly mentally matured. Like, you're not properly still formed yet. So you still have the decisions to like, you still have a choice of the actions that you take and whether you do right or wrong. But to completely understand your own emotions and validate your own emotions and process everything. And like, if you are so confused what's going on in your head and like trying to process things, and you act out in a certain way, and as soon as you act out in a certain way, you just get absolutely bollocked.
Yes.
Then how the hell are you going to move forward from that?
Yes, mate.
And like you said, like with your experiences with your mum, and like, not that she maliciously did it, but it was unconsciously.
Yeah.
Not validating your emotions, then that's just like a ripple effect. It's just a snowball effect. Yeah. And I'm really glad I'm glad we've done this anyway. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's been amazing. But like, just from a perspective of like knowing I'm going to be a parent soon, and like how I can be the best parent and how I can show up. And when I've got a child that's going to be acting out at certain points, rather than like bollocking them, just taking a step back. Why?
Oh, mate.
Why?
The most beautiful thing you can do.
I love it.
When a kid has a tantrum in public, that's the ultimate test.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes my little boy's screaming, and the unconscious conditioning is like, stop screaming, you're in public, you're showing us up, whatever, all these unconscious things we got told, right?
Yeah.
My hardest thing is to step back and go, okay, he's feeling a big emotion, he can't regulate his own emotions, he needs co-regulation with a parent that sets him up in life to feel his own. Understand all that is gold. That's where an educational piece needs to come in. He's feeling this big emotion. How can I send him the message that it's okay to feel this way? And what comes up for me? Because I'm dealing with two people, because I'm an adult. That's the hardest thing. What comes up for me is the shame, the embarrassment of like, what are they all thinking about me as a parent? Because I'm not screaming at him and I'm tolerating this. But what's the truth? The truth is that my little boy needs to know it's safe to feel his emotions. So fuck all you lot. Not genuinely like that, not maliciously, but like, if you are judging me, perfect, straight over my head, mate, because I'm dealing with my little boy and I'm going to give him a hug and I'm going to hold him until he's regulated that emotion, and every part of him is going to know he's safe to feel that with dad. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And we have to keep, that's a great anchor to like, where's the truth in this? Where's the truth in this?
With that wisdom though, that's not like...
I'm a deep thinker, man. I don't stop thinking about this stuff. And I just keep going over ways in which I can deliver it.
But I think that the work that you're doing is so important, because I fucking hell, mate, like the amount I've learned just sat here for the last hour and a half is phenomenal. And I think just keep doing what you're doing, mate. Like that I've learned a lot in just an hour and a half. So, I think it's amazing, especially if I'm going to be someone that's going to be a parent soon. So
an amazing parent.
Thank you, mate.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very excited.
Just a quick one. Most of you watching this episode aren't yet subscribed. So if you want your weekly motivation from some incredible guests, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications on.
So you made your professional debut at 17 years old at London Broncos. What would you say, knowing everything that you know now, as wise as you are, to 17-year-old Dan, just about to step on the pitch for London Broncos in the Super League for the first time?
How you're going out there and expressing yourself, and how you're free, how you're enjoying your rugby. Don't lose that. Don't let moving to Wigan and 1,000 fans commenting on how you play change your game, which it did. Don't go to a club and let them tell you that you need to put a stone and a half on and lose your agility. Keep stepping, people. Keep your agility. Keep smiling. Keep enjoying it. Maybe a little bit of insight into fear of failure and help him out with that. But sometimes we're meant to suffer with this to then understand it, process it, move through it, and take the wisdom. So wouldn't completely want to take that away.
How old were you when your brother passed?
I was 25 or 26.
If you could go to the day after you'd found out your brother had sadly passed away, what would you say to him?
Me or him?
To you.
To me, there's no rush to feel this. There's no given process. Everyone's different. If some days you don't want to feel it, don't feel it. If some days you feel inspired to feel a little bit, then pick the phone up and chat to someone. Feel it. Go at your own pace. You can't force the grieving process. It's a surrender into the unknown of what will come up every day. That's sometimes why we try to keep busy, because it's like, how much more of this is going to come? The overwhelm. What emotion? There's many emotions that come up within it: anger, sadness, guilt. Just build it. Here's what a psychologically safe environment is: pick one person, find one person in your life, and just share that at your own pace.
Beautiful. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much.